Excited about the win on Saturday. Guys played well, and we were able to dominate the game when we needed to start the first half and start the second half. A great thing about the playoffs is you move forward pretty quickly. So Sunday morning we just dove right into Wofford and didn't really give San Diego much of a second thought or second look, especially on the defensive side, because it's such a different game plan now with the triple option. So watching Wofford, they're an exceptional football team, very similar to what we played in 2012 as far as what they're schematically doing offensively, defensively, really physical team from a good league, and I think it's going to be a great football game on Saturday morning. So we're excited about the time slot on Saturday morning. We've been in that spot the last X amount of years, and so our guys are comfortable there, and we'll go tee it up and play. So open up for questions.
Chris, how different is this Wofford team from the one in 2012 that ran it, seemed like every single time? They pass it a little bit more, don't they?
I think they have the ability to throw it a little bit more. I think that depends on what you show them and how the game's going, but it's very similar when we flipped on the 2012 game, and then you flip on all the games they've played this year, and also utilizing some of the Youngstown game last year. It's very similar as far as what they want to do, which is run the football. And then I'm impressed with the quarterback. They play two guys, but one throws it a lot more frequently than the other, and so they have a lot of athletes, a lot of really good speed. I think they're faster this year than they were in 2012. Just have so much more speed. I think we played like 3 quarterbacks that year in 2012, so they have really good team speed.
You threw on the 2012 film. What do you gain from that? Why, and what's the benefit of that?
Because it's the same head coach, the same offensive coordinator. So in essence, I know they've evolved their scheme, but you can see whatever their scheme was and what it is now. It just, from our vantage point, how we matched up, sometimes more physically than anything. You see guys like Kyle Emanuel and Travis Beck and Grant and Dudzik and Cole Jurek. You see how those guys matched up with their personnel and talent, and I think it's good for us as coaches to see, because that was a physical game. That was a 14-7 game that could have gone either way, and it'll be good for our guys to see, because it's hard to compare league to league when you flip on that game, and we'll utilize that as well because of the same scheme offensively, so that those guys realize, boy, this is going to be a 4-quarter physical game.
As far as you know, Grant had 29 tackles that game. Why was that? Why was that different?
Well, he was assigned to the fullback, and the fullback was did he win the but did he win the award for FCS? Boy, he was a stud, and so that was the main reason, is we had him on the fullback, and those two guys became best of friends, I think, by the end of the day, as many times they ran into each other.
This is the first documented concussion for Jalen, and how do you kind of expect him to progress through the week?
It is the first documented concussion. I don't know, because I haven't seen him yet. We'll find out. Obviously, that's all the doc's calls and Bobby's calls as far as how quickly he can recover and if he'll have any availability or not. We probably won't know that until tomorrow or Wednesday.
Will this be about as much base as you guys have played on defense to the beginning of the season? Yeah, but we played, almost exclusively base on Saturday. We played base almost the whole game on Saturday. So, just because of the nature of the offense, you're going to try to keep your same people in there.
What makes their rushing attack so consistent when you know it's coming?
You don't know where it's going. You know it's coming, but you don't know where it's going. Option football is all about having great eye control, great discipline, assignment sound football, being disciplined in your fits. You have to have every phase covered. They do a great job of not running the same plays, running different versions of plays, doing same plays, different formations. It's so difficult to defend because of the fact we don't practice against it every day. And the other thing is, who's going to be our quarterback on scout team? We don't have that type of a guy at quarterback. Who's going to play, the slot backs and the fullback? I mean, all those things come into it, and so that's what makes it so difficult. Is you're doing this all in essentially 2.5 days of practice. You have 4 or 5 days of walkthroughs and stuff like that. But our guys are beat up just like everybody else is because it's December, and so you have to make sure and keep your guys healthy and fresh.
Chris, is this a Robbie Grimsley kind of game that he needs to be what Colton was for you that run in 2012?
Yeah, potentially. It will probably play a little bit different scheme because it's not Georgia Southern. You got to remember now, Higgs didn't play in 2012 because he was out with an ACL. So we'll probably adjust. Well, we're going to adjust somewhat of our scheme. So whether it's everybody, the perimeter guys have to be really good, whether that's the safeties or the outside linebackers.
Practice. How do you go about practicing for that triple option?
Well, you start with a lot of film and a lot of meetings, and the guys have to watch film on their own, and then you go out and you walk through your plan, and then you try to practice it with the scout team and make sure that the guys know it's going to be 10 times faster on Saturday morning than what it is at practice on a Monday or Tuesday. And that's the challenge is you can think you have everything fit up well, and you've got this phase covered, and this phase covered, and all of a sudden it comes 10 times faster because these guys know what the heck they're doing, and they're really talented, and they're a lot faster than our scout team guys, and you find out quickly, can we line up and handle the speed of the game? I've been a part of more games against option football where the first quarter you feel like, boy, you're never going to stop them because they march it down and score, or they march down and get big drives because you're just not used to the speed until you get used to that speed, until you get used to where those blocks are coming from.
Brought up Grimsley. How vital is it, and how important is it for you guys to have that experience that you guys do have there in your safeties?
Well, it's really important to have experience at all the positions as far as, once again, if we don't have experience D tackles, we're not going to play the dive very well. Defensive ends, we're not going to play the quarterback very well. But none of those guys have played against this scheme. Charleston Southern's somewhat similar, but there's a lot of variations that are different too. So I still think it comes down to just experienced guys in general that have played a bunch of different schemes, from 4 and 5 wide receivers to pounded football against Youngstown to a jet sweep game against Western Illinois. The more plays and the more offenses that defensive guys get used to and familiar with, they just pick up schemes and stuff. So I think the core linebackers and safeties having experience is a big factor.
What are the candidates to run the 4 different spots on the wing bone for your scout team, and what does their week look like? When do they start?
Well, it starts today, and we're still really figuring that out, Ross. We're trying, and when I was leaving to come over here, they were actually going through the depth chart of where they're going to put guys.
Chris, all that about the defense. How big is it a day for your offense to make sure their offense stays off the field then?
Yeah, it's really important. I think both teams know that if you can hold the ball for 35-plus minutes, you're going to have a great opportunity to be successful because it's what they want to do to us. And so for us to be able to manufacture some drives, and even when you're not scoring, you have to be able to put first downs together so you can milk the clock and try to shorten the game and then be productive when you do get into the scoring zones to be able to punch some touchdowns in. And obviously – not hurting yourself with either penalties or turnovers is so critical. I haven't watched as much on the other side of the ball this week as I would like to, just because I'm diving into the option because it's what I know and what I like. And but I know they're really talented on defense. They run more of a 3-down scheme rather than a 4-down scheme, which a lot of our teams in our league have started to go to that 3-down scheme. So we'll have our hands full there.
Players really made it sound like you emphasize starting fast. How important is it to get a lead on a team that runs an option and make them throw to come back?
Well, obviously they don't want to be in that position, and that's really critical. Obviously, last week it was just the fact that we had the bye week, and boy, that start was so imperative that we had a fast start because on the flip side, the week before, San Diego had an unbelievable start against Northern Arizona, kind of blew them out. We needed to have that great start coming off that bye week, but in general, against a team that runs the football no different than us. I mean, we run the football as well. We just do it in a different way. It's hard to play catch up when you're a run-first mentality team, and so for us to get off to a fast start is really important, and us to get to a lead is important. But in the same respect, if we don't, then that's the hand we're dealt, and we just have to play through the adversity.
What's this week going to be like for D coordinator?
Oh, Matt's a great defensive coordinator. He'll not get a lot of sleep, but he and the staff have done a great job already of putting some things in place for us to have practice today. Had a really late night last night, put some things in place already this morning. We've got a really good coaching staff, and it's just you're just never sure that you have it correct until you get to Saturday because of the speed of the game. And that's the thing that you always fear as a defensive coordinator is I think we have a lot of things covered, but it's just going to come so much faster than you can simulate in a practice.
7 straight quarterfinals for your program. How much better are you guys at kind of balancing the recruiting effort with the deep playoff run?
Well, we'll find out this year simply because of the new signing date or the early signing period, and so we're not in homes. Other schools are. We feel like we've built a lot of great relationships with a number of prospects. A lot of prospects have been on campus, and that's a credit to Hank Jacobs. But we just have to continue to do a great job of pounding the phones and when we're out, we're out. Whether that's this week, next week, or January, that's the way it's been for the last 7 years. Now, I'd rather be in this position than to sit in somebody's home and say we're not playing, because there's most teams that are saying we're not playing. And for us, we also have another big factor is we're calling kids saying, you're not going on the internet to find our game. You're going to ESPN2 and finding our game. And if ESPN has a choice and they choose the Bison, they do that. And that's what they've done again, is they've chosen the Bison to put them on ESPN2 and not to put them on ESPN3.
Your tight ends, your senior tight ends, what have they done for your program over the last 5 years?
They've been great. I love watching those kids work. I love watching them practice. Jeff and Connor have been spot players, role players, impact players, great leaders in our program because they learn from the Vaudelins before them and Bonnets and all those guys how you go about your business on a daily basis. And the thing that I guess I'm even more impressed with is how they handle not only the younger players, the Ben Ellefsons and stuff, but even the true freshmen. And they always are continuing to coach and lead those guys of, hey, when we leave, here's how it's got to be done. They grab a Noah Gindorf and a Josh Babbage and talk to those guys and say, this is how we do it as crew chiefs. This is how you practice. This is how you prepare for a game. This is how you go about your weight workouts, nutrition, all that stuff, because this position is so important to our offense.
A lot of, small town linemen over the years but Ilias is more of a impact player as far as a skill position too, which I don't know if it's very rare, but it seems like it.
Yeah, it really is, especially with the size. He's not a 5'10" kid. He's a 6'3" guy, and I'll never forget when he was a true freshman and I was the defensive coordinator. He'd go up and catch ball over Marcus every practice. I mean, he just had that uncanny ability. We played him as a wide receiver because he was 195 pounds on scout team, and he was always the best receiver. And we always put that Jeff wherever that top guy was, and he attacked the football. And then he's made himself into a really good tight end with his hard work, his ability to gain weight. Done a great job in the weight room with Coach Kramer, and then Coach Roll's done a phenomenal job with those guys. Coach Roll, those guys run through a wall for Tyler, as everybody would that plays for Tyler, just because of how Tyler treats them with great respect, as well as the passion that Tyler brings every day.
Got any update on Lance Dunn whatsoever? If you should make it to January, is there?
I know he has a doctor's appointment this week, so I think we'll learn a little bit more when they do an MRI or an X-ray this week, though.
Chris, a comment about the 8 teams left. Do you believe this is the best 8 that are still playing right now?
Well, it looks to be that way. There's some real programs that you've heard of all year, and then there's programs that you've heard of for years and years. New Hampshire's a program that I remember playing those guys in 06 and 07 and stuff. A program that's always around. And then obviously it's great that we have 2 from the Valley playing and on opposite sides. And so, but no, there's 8 excellent football teams, and this is the best of the best. And now, there's no flukes now. You have to play really well or you're going to get knocked off, and you can't beat yourself. You can't turn the football over. You can't have penalties. You can't lose in the special teams game, and you have to be ready to go. And most of that is done Monday through Friday. The guys are going to be ready on Saturday. You only have so many games left. It's what your preparation is Monday through Friday, and that's what we have done a really good job with our staff and with our leaders of emphasizing is just take it one day at a time. We got to win today to get to tomorrow and so forth, so we have an opportunity to be successful on Saturday.
back, and if you do, how important is it to involve he and Matt, because there's going to be so many running plays?
Yeah, I'm hopeful we get Levi back. I know he ran yesterday for Bobby, and he's going to try to practice or at least do some change of direction today and maybe practice tomorrow. We need another inside backer or outside backer, so to speak, because of the scheme that we'd like to run. And, you know, Matt's gives us one body. We need a second body in there, and we need to be able to have Chris be able to play an outside backer as well. And right now, the only thing Chris we can do with him is play inside because we're short one there.
We believe they've taken Georgia Southern and App State's spot in the SoCon, that Wofford is the team now since those teams moved on.
Yeah, without question, they have. I mean, every year they're up there, and every year they have a phenomenal program. I watched the game as it went yesterday afternoon of their Youngstown game in last year in the playoff. What a great football game. And I think they fumbled going into the end zone on a 4th and 2, or I think they had that game won. And that was a battle back and forth. And it looked like a Missouri Valley Conference game. Obviously, the offense was different, but the physicality wasn't, and the athleticism wasn't. And so that's what I see as a Missouri Valley type physical, athletic opponent coming in here just running a different scheme.
Health of Cole Davis. Obviously, he played, but it seemed like you didn't want to use him in passing situations.
We didn't want him to get hit. He could throw the ball fine, but with the score what it was, we didn't want a protection to break down or something and him to take an unnecessary hit. And that's why we did what we did. Had it been a tight ball game, Cole, you're rolling. But there was no reason for him to take an unnecessary hit, and that's why we did what we did.